Tonight, a 14-year-old Mid-Missouri student and his family are speaking out about a case of bullying, saying the school is not handling it correctly.
Jimmy Oswald, a freshman at Otterville High School in Cooper County, suffered neck injuries after being attacked by another student in class, but both students received the same punishment. And
that's when Jimmy's family cried foul, but the school said it was just following procedures. Was it bullying, an assault, or just fighting among teenagers?
In a special report, ABC 17's Jillian Fertig looks into what the state requires when violence happens in schools and whether or not this case was handled properly. Jillian.
Joey and Marissa, the incident happened at the end of last month. Now, according to both Jimmy and the school, Jimmy was put in a headlock by another student until the teacher broke it up and sent both boys to the office. The school says Jimmy said something offensive that provoked the other student, so both students were equally punished. Medical records given to me by Jimmy's mom, they're dated one day after the incident and show that he suffered a spine strain. But the school says no injuries were reported the day of the incident, and they don't consider what happened to be a major issue or in violation of the Safe Schools Act.
I walked into class and we hadn't been in class but 2 or 3 minutes. I was just sitting around talking with my friend, and the next moment I know, I just have somebody come up around me and put me in a chokehold. I didn't know what was going on. He jerked me up out of my seat, slammed me to the ground.
That was January 29th. Jimmy says he was talking with his friend when another student heard him say something that he thought was directed at him. That's when the student put Jimmy in a headlock. But the school says Jimmy provoked it, and both boys were sent home early.
And I got a phone call from the principal's office saying that Jimmy and another student had been mouthing each other and he needed to be picked up from school. She failed to tell me that he had been attacked from behind.
The next day, my neck started hurting more.
That's when Darlene Kramer tells me she took her son to the doctor. The doctor diagnosed Jimmy with a cervical spine strain and made him wear a neck brace. When he returned to school, he was put in in-school suspension as punishment for the incident. The same punishment given to the student who attacked him.
That is not a jail where they break out and have rights. That's a school where they're sent to learn. And this should be zero tolerance on this kind of behavior at school.
I reached out to the school multiple times via email and phone over the last few weeks. After my 4th attempt to reach the school, I did get to talk to Otterville Superintendent Matt Unger on the phone. He acknowledged what happened, but said it was a minor incident and did not violate the Safe Schools Act. Otterville, like many other schools in Missouri, has an agreement with police that third-degree assaults can be handled internally to keep from clogging up the courts. This is a copy of the agreement. It states third-degree assaults are reported to law enforcement only after considering the following. 1, the age and maturity of the student involved. 2, whether the incident involved the use or threatened use of a weapon or involved sexual misconduct or allegations of sexual assault. 3, the nature and severity of the conduct, and 4, the nature and severity of injury, if any, inflicted on the other person involved. To find out more information about how incidents like this are handled under the Missouri Safe Schools Act, I talked with Paul Finnewald, the director of the Missouri Center for Education Safety.
The Safe Schools Act that has some specific reporting requirements, and things like assaults. If it's an assault in the 1st degree or the 2nd degree, there's a requirement that if the teacher becomes aware of it, then they have to report that to the principal. If the principal becomes aware of it, he has to report that to law enforcement, and he has to report that to the superintendent.
Finnewald says third-degree assaults are handled differently. If the school has an agreement with police, like Otterville does, then the school uses its discretion on how it's handled based on the severity of the incident.
Rather than clog up the court system, give a young person a criminal record, if you would, some type of a law enforcement record. Rather than doing that, they let the school adjudicate that, maybe within school suspension.
While the school says it followed these guidelines properly, Jimmy's family disagrees. They say the situation is more serious.
It just escalates, and who's to say what the next person's going to do? Is it going to be kind of like this, or is it going to be worse?
And Jimmy tells me he isn't afraid to go to school, but he says he's worried and doesn't want this to happen to anyone else.
What's going to happen the next time, like somebody accidentally says something he don't like? If he does that again, he don't know what he's doing, he could snap their neck or paralyze them.
I also talked to the Otterville police chief. He tells me he believes the school handled everything the right way. He said if anything serious does happen, though, the Otterville Police Department is always there to step in.